fault entirely. The one thing I forgot to say before the closing remarks is you have to vote. So, well, just hold fire just for one moment. So they will be coming round as the microphones go away. The ballot boxes will be coming round, and you vote for the proposition, obviously, with the part that says for. You vote against with the bit that says against. And if you don't know, then you put the slip in its entirety. So apologies. Felipe, please resume.
They do promote equality. Again, I cite the example of Ampleforth or Downside or Worth Abbey schools I know very well. If you go there and you are taught an education so subversive of capitalism that, you couldn't have anything more subversive of capitalism if Marx were the headmaster and Engels were the chaplain. We know that public schools reflect the inequalities of society, but so do all schools. That's in the nature of schools, that they should reflect the vices of the societies in which they're embedded. Comprehensive schools do the same in a more intractable way because they create ghettos. They create postcode ghettos. And a great example of that is the very good school that David went to and that the gentleman in the gallery went to, William Ellis School, which used to be an independent school, became a grammar school when its status was abolished by the government. It very nobly became a voluntary aided school. But it's in Hampstead, it's in Parliament Hill Fields, it's surrounded by the bourgeoisie, and the average income of parents at David's old school and that gentleman's old school is actually higher than that of many independent schools, including Kirkham School and Wolverhampton Grammar School and various others that I could mention. You're not going to fillet inequalities out of society by being beastly to the public schools. You're just going to transfer those inequalities elsewhere, and you're going to deprive the country of one of the great causeways and motors of social change that it has, which is that great life-enhancing, morally focused and centered education that many independent schools deliver, along with many of the other best schools in the country. That's why the real radicals, the real revolutionaries in this room this evening are going to be with me and with us on this side of the House.
Thank you. David.
I think Felipe has illustrated the point that I made about how the British upper middle classes have a fantastic way of safeguarding their own interests and presenting it as radicalism. Incidentally, everything you said about William Ellis is almost completely wrong. I have no idea where you got that statistic from, but if it was correct, I put the challenge up, absolutely, I'd be very surprised. And the reason was really simple. In that area, the kids from the council estates and so on do go to William Ellis. But the middle class and the upper middle class parents send their kids to Highgate and University College School. Everybody in the area knows it. If you've got the money, you're in Highgate and UCS. If you haven't, then you're at one of the other schools. It is a form, in our part of London, actually of educational apartheid. It's the only thing that you can describe it as. And the facilities at these schools are fantastic. UCS has just built itself the most astounding sports centre in the centre of London, which has no possible conceivable equivalent at any of the state schools in the area. It's a perfect illustration of the point that we were making earlier. And we'll just end by looking at one aspect to do with Harrow. Harrow School, you have to pay £28,000 a year to attend that school. If you, let's say, had 2 children to go through that school simultaneously, you'd be paying £56,000. You would have to earn the best part of £90,000 simply in order to pay the school fees. You have to be extremely wealthy to do it. Now, on Harrow School's site, they tell you that 85% of the kids who go to Harrow have been to a prep school. What is a prep school there to do? A prep school is there to give you advantage in getting into Harrow School. And what do the prep schools now have? They now have infant feeder schools, which are also selective and which are paid for, which go into them. Now, I ask you, what chance in those circumstances does the ordinary child have against the person who has had that capacity for that education? It's not a negative point. What chance do they have? This may be, as I said, a blight. It may not even be the biggest blight that we face, but it is, ladies and gentlemen, this is the point, it's our blight. those of us in this room. It's our blight, and the least we could do is to recognise and vote for the motion.
Mary.
Well, I suppose I now come clean and say that I went to a girls' direct grant school, so I sit between these now different types of school. But it was in Shrewsbury, and our school was really the totty for Shrewsbury School, I think. And indeed, it was in Shrewsbury School Hall that I first saw If, and that marvellous scene where everybody gets slaughtered at the end. I think it was extremely enlightened of the Masters of Shrewsbury School that they put it on for the boys. And we sat, us girls from the high school and the boys, and we cheered at this. I think we were cheering because we thought that sort of without school, sex would be better. I don't think we were quite on the blight to society line. And I suppose I went into early adulthood thinking much like these guys over there. In fact, my stepchildren went one to William Ellis and one to Parliament Hill. My own children have gone to independent schools in Cambridge. Why did I send them there? I did not send them there. I promise I didn't send them there to turn them out toffs. I sent them there because I wanted them to learn what seemed to me the essential linguistic, scientific and cultural skills to be citizens of a global community. And, my day job is effectively, the bottom line of my day job is that I want to ensure that in 100 years' time, there are still people around who can read Homer. And I think there'll be a tremendous blight on society if I fail on that. And for the moment, I'm having to stick my oar in with these guys. I don't agree with Philippe. I don't think that the public school system is fair. I sort of agree with some of the issues that the other guys have raised. At some point you said it was fair, dear, but anyway, we can talk about that later. But I think there's all sorts of things that you would never invent in British society if you were starting from scratch. If I was going to invent an education system, I would not do what we've done. Nevertheless, given that it's here, the one way we're going to preserve, I think, some of the basic and most valuable things of British culture is by, for the moment, not, as Barnaby says, giving it all to Ed Balls. And if out-competing the state sector, if that means teaching Latin and Greek and French and German, then I don't mind out-competing them for a bit.
Martin.